Howdy folks, it's Dave with Alaskan Homesteading. As you can see behind me, I've got my tractor in the garage, and today I'm going to work on some maintenance items. I've got some fresh oil for the tractor, a new air filter, and a couple other things we're going to take a look at. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, well, the first and easiest maintenance item is going to be replacing the air filter. This thing I know is filthy because it was filthy when I got the tractor in the summer, and I just took it out, blew it out with some compressed air, and figured I would limp it along a little bit that way for a while. I'm not working in a super dusty environment, so I wasn't super worried about it temporarily, but now that I've had a chance to order and acquire the new filter, I think the tractor deserves it. So this is the filter element. It's a paper element. The center one, there's an inner and an outer, and the inner one is a foam element, and I don't think it's necessarily washable. The outer one, the manual says you can blow out with compressed air, so I've done that once, but that's really it for this guy. So moving on to fresh filters. I'm also going to give this a little bit of a wipe down on the inside of the filter housing. Yeah, there's a lot of dust in there. Good to give that a quick cleaning. You'll hear some random noise in the background as ice and snow falls off the tractor while it's melting here in the garage. But what you don't want to do here is blow compressed air in and around the filter housing while you've got the filter out, because you don't want to blow any dust into the air intake system of the tractor. So that's one reason I just wanted to get in here and give that a little wipe down with a damp rag. Pick out any errant little bits of dust that are hanging around in there that I can clean out. Give this a little bit of a cleaning too. It's pretty dusty. Probably just wash this in the sink, I think. It's pretty nasty. This is a little drain assembly, so if any sort of liquid or anything got inside the filter, this is a little valve that'll let it pour out at the bottom. But under vacuum, these little duct bills close up, so you're only pulling air from the main air intake. Hot and soapy. Get this cleaned up nice. Start fresh. This is the first time I've had the garage cleaned out enough to be able to park a tractor in here in many months. With our move up here finishing this year, the garage ended up being storage for a lot of other things, and now it's nice to have that space reclaimed, at least to an extent, for actual garage stuff. Put this guy, dry this off. This is just plastic, so a little dish soap, a little hot water. It's not going to hurt it. But definitely nice to have a clean part on the engine. Of course, by making one clean part, I'm going to be staring at this under the hood and thinking, well, maybe I need to clean everything in the engine bay. It's always nice to be working with a clean engine, particularly when you're doing maintenance tasks. Like getting your hands all dirty on oily stuff is a mess. It's nice to work in a clean engine compartment. So might have to go get some Simple Green, work on degreasing pieces of the engine bay. All right, let's let that dry for a few minutes here. My friendly neighborhood Napa was kind enough to have these in stock. We the couple of filter elements that I needed. They were actually just able to easily cross-reference the parts, and now I've got them. All told, for a fuel filter, the 2 air filter elements, the oil filter, the hydraulic filter, I was out the door with about $170 worth of filters. Not cheap owning a tractor, but sure is nice. So, nice, fresh core filter, combined foam element. Something always very satisfying about fresh filters on an engine. Yeah, there we go. And a nice, bright, white, clean outer air filter element. And these just slide one right inside the other. And make sure I don't get any drips on my filter element. That's not good. And this just pops inside the chamber here. Engage that so it's got a nice positive seal at the inner end. Feels good. Remember what I said about wanting to clean the whole engine compartment. Just start with all the stuff I'm touching as I go through it, and eventually we'll get there. I probably should just take this whole filter housing off of here and give it a good cleaning, because now it's gonna bother me if it's not clean. I don't know how it comes off. Oh, it's just a elastic band, a little bungee. All right, we can do that. Let's take that out. Undoing what I've already done, but in the name of having some cleanliness and order in here. And this is how what could be, a 10-minute job turns into an hour job. Because boy, there's a lot of dirt in here. The previous owner worked this tractor on a pretty dusty lot, and he worked it pretty hard. I mean, he was doing tractor stuff. It was doing what it's built to do. It doesn't seem like he abused it. It seems really nice shape. But, when you're actually using the tractor for like production work, it's tough to take the time to put it down and put it away and really clean it up under those conditions. So now that I've got a little time, that's what we're gonna do. And I won't get absolutely everything. That's not practical, but clean a lot of the obvious stuff. So like the seals on the hood, any of the parts of the engine that I'm taking apart and clean. Wipe down some hoses while I'm in here. And just generally give it a refresh. These bungees are all full of dust. I gotta rinse these off. Clean bungees. I don't know why this matters so much to me, but today this is what I want to do. Another day when I have a little more time, I'll probably just take off this whole intake assembly, give it a wash. And I know it'll get dirty again, but this is a really good way to become acquainted with a piece of equipment that's new to you also, particularly used equipment. You know, if you haven't been the one going over it and taking care of it, it's nice to get eyes on every little part so you can see, you know, are there leaks, are there damaged parts, are there loose pieces, loose fittings, loose nuts, bolts, screws, loose hoses or wires, ripped hoses, you know, anything that might be leaking. It's just great to have a once over on any piece of equipment like this every once in a while. So really good wintertime project for us here. This is just the radiator overflow hose. Once again, reinsert these filters. Pop this guy over. And here's this little valve. Filter housing even tells you which way is up. It says top on here. Alright, that is very tight fitting. Not sure why that's so tight fitting. One thing that would make this job a little easier is if I had taken off the loader arms, but I've never done that before, and I didn't want to try that today. It's just a little bit too involved for what I feel like getting into at the moment. All right, I'm just going to try this again. I think I didn't have this filter seated quite all the way in there. It's a little tricky to get seated because it is brand new and the rubber's not been heat cycled a bunch, so it doesn't just kind of slide in and compress the way the old filter did. Those clasps are all open. Okay. And that didn't get that positioned quite right. Aha, there we go. I think I got that on there a little better now. What is catching? some of these clasps are in an awkward spot. It's one by the radiator. It's really tricky to get at. Okay, that's better. Okay, there we go. It's nice and snug. All right, air filter replacement is finished. All right, well, I'm back from dinner, and now it is time to drain the oil, because I want to do an oil change on this. I've got some nice fresh 1540 synthetic Rotella tea that I am going to fill this up with. I checked the oil level is great, but the oil is black, as you expect with a diesel. Almost immediately after an oil change, it's going to turn pretty black. But, you know, I've used this thing pretty well during the summer, and I think it's high time to go ahead and change the oil. So we've got our catch basin, the aforementioned Shell Rotella T5 1540 heavy duty diesel engine oil, synthetic. 1 gallon, 2 gallons. The stated capacity on this engine is 7 quarts, and the drain pan I have holds 16 quarts. So I've got plenty of capacity to drain everything and refill it. The one wild card is, I think I have the right oil filter, but I'm not sure. The guys at Napa were not 100% on this. The filter that's on the engine seems a little larger, but we'll take a look if I have to wait and go get another one, maybe from the Branson dealer, or if the Napa folks can't cross-reference it, then it is what it is. I don't need the tractor right away this week or anything. And let's see, what size drain plug are you? Are you maybe 17 millimeter? Ooh, right on the money, first try. Very nice. Let's see if this has got the juice. It does not. It's okay. And that is on there tight. Does not really want to come off. Luckily, I keep some cardboard around here to lie on when I need to get on the floor to work on something. There we go. Now, I did warm up the tractor earlier before dinner so that the oil would be free flowing. Let's see how we did. All right. Not bad. And we are just going to let that drain. Oops. Forgot to open the air vent. Always open the air vent. draining nicely. Ooh, I'll open up the oil filler on top. Make sure there's room for air to come in and replace the oil that's draining out. And the oil on the drain plug looks nice and clean. No chunks, no metal bits, nothing visible to the eye anyway. Looks just like nice black used diesel engine oil. Alright, still draining. We're going to let that go for a while. Make sure it gets nice and emptied out. Besides, I want to see if I can rig something up so that I don't make a mess taking the oil filter out. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So up here, the oil filter is horizontal. It's one of my least favorite designs. I don't know why companies insist on this. Engineers, have some empathy for your technicians. Build it so your oil filters are vertical, so that when you take them off, you don't have to make a huge mess. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think I'm just going to try and find something I can slip under there to catch any oil. My usual trick is to wrap a plastic grocery bag around it. We'll see how that goes. Alright, let's give this a shot. Got a strap wrench, and we're just going to try and loosen this up a little bit. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, there's always something in there that's going to get oil all over it when they set these things up. But do not. Put a plastic shopping bag around this thing. Underneath. Oh, yeah. Not a problem. Look at that. Not a drop on the ground or the tractor. That's fantastic. Well, unfortunately, we're hitting a work stoppage for tonight, I think. This filter that came on the tractor is, it's a Man-Hummel filter. The writing's all in Korean, so I'm thinking this is, original Cookjay equipment, and I think there's no numbers on here that I can read other than this lot number, and that's not going to do me any good. Oil filter. Maybe I'll point my phone at this and see if it's if Google Translate can tell me what these Korean characters mean. But otherwise, I'm going to have to do some more research and see if I can get the right filter, because this guy is just quite a bit smaller. I measured across the O-ring, and the OEM filter is like 70 millimeters outer diameter on that O-ring, and this one that Napa thought would be the one is only 65 millimeters, roughly. So, luckily, I didn't unwrap this, so I can return it. Hopefully, they'll be able to source me the correct one. More later. All right, just like that, it is the next day, and I am back at it with the tractor maintenance. I did have to go back to the Napa store to get a different filter. I did a bunch of research overnight and figured out a different Napa filter that would match the filter housing on the tractor. It took, I don't know, a couple of hours to figure this out. Probably the only thing about this tractor that bothers me is that there's just not parts cross references for a lot of these maintenance and wear items. You're pretty well locked in to calling the Branson dealer until you go figure out the magic numbers for some other filter that'll work. At any rate, I've got the new oil filter. Let's go ahead and finish the oil change. This is the filter that I've decided to use. I am explicitly not making a recommendation that anybody else decide to use this particular filter on these tractors. I took some measurements. I looked at where the filter O-ring gasket would mate up with the oil filter housing on the tractor, and based on those measurements and looking at some different filter specifications online, I arrived at the conclusion that this one will work for me. So I'm going to use it, but I'm not going to take any responsibility for you making a decision to use this same filter and it has some problem with your tractor. Consult your local dealer, consult your Napa store, consult whoever you want, but I'm not the one to consult. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And so here's the filter. I've gone ahead and applied a little film of the oil that I'm using, which happens to be a Mobil Delvac 1 5W40 diesel engine oil. I decided that the 1540 that I had already bought is really not as good of an idea for winter. So I wanted a little bit lighter weight on the low end there. So I went with the 540 for the winter instead of the 1540. That's okay. The 1540 can hang out in stock and I can use it in my Duramax or I can use it in the tractor in the summer. That is all fine. But this they had on hand at the Napa when I went to get my filter. And no, I will not be pouring any oil into this filter before assembling it onto the filter housing. Why is that? Well, you might think it's because it's horizontal and it'll just spill everywhere. No, that's not the reason. The reason is you're not supposed to do that. You really, really want to let the filter do its job with all of the oil that goes into your engine. The pickup side of the filter is those little holes, and you don't want to potentially contaminate the output side with something that might be dirty oil before you even get the thing on there. So word of the wise, my opinion only, don't go pouring oil into your filter. I know that's a controversial position, but that's how I'm doing it. For some reason, this thing doesn't want to thread on quite right. I don't know what's going on here. The other filter threads on fine. I've even already checked these threads to make sure. Weird. Alright. Just couldn't find the start to the thread. That's strange. But, alright. Feeling nice and positive on there. Alright, let's go ahead and get some oil in there. This sure is a little bit awkward with this loader arm in place. I think next time I do this, I'm going to have to either take the loader off or go ahead and leave it in the upright position so that I can access the engine a little more easily. This is just a little bit tricky getting this gallon jug in here. Let's hear it for funnels. Helping clumsy people pour liquids into small holes since I don't know when. When was the funnel invented? Does anybody know that? I will give a special shout out in my next video to anybody who can answer that question. Who invented the funnel and when? And what was it first used for? Get a history of the funnel. I think that would be interesting. Well, I mean, I find all kinds of weird stuff interesting, so maybe you all won't, but somebody will. All right. So that is 1 gallon or 4 quarts. The specification says it takes 7. So even though I'm just over halfway, I'm going to go ahead and check the oil level and see where we are. Oh, would you look at that? We are about halfway up the dipstick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that how this one works? I don't know, but we're about halfway up the stick. That's nice. Okay. Now we'll get the next 3 quarts in. We'll recheck level. And we should be good to button up the oil change part of this show. I'm having a heck of a time sourcing the fuel filter for this tractor. I'm sure if I call the Branson dealer, they'll have one for me, or for 50 bucks. But my objection there isn't even so much the price, it's the availability. I don't want to have to order from a specialty dealer to get my fuel filters. I want something I can source from any store, any Napa store, or O'Reilly, or CarQuest, or AutoZone, or pick your poison. Because what if my Branson dealer closes? Then I have to go order it off some Branson dealer down in the lower 48. I don't want to do that. So we'll see what we figure out. I have Napa ordering me one that they think is going to be right. We did a bunch of cross-referencing, and the guy at the counter was certainly trying his best. And we'll see what we get. I'm optimistic anyway. The one that he showed me in his order system looked pretty promising, but I think ultimately what's going to happen is I'm going to have to pull the existing element and take measurements, and then we'll go back to the specification books and figure out which element it really is. But that is a task for another day. And I don't really relish opening up that filter housing in here, because I just know there is no way I'm going to get that open without making a mess. It's all full of diesel fuel, and there is nowhere underneath it for me to place any kind of a catch basin. It's just going to pour down onto the frame and some wiring and a bunch of other stuff. I don't like that. So we will see. I might have to do that one with a big piece of cardboard or something underneath the tractor. All right, well, let's check our oil level again now that we're full up, or at least I think we're full up. All right, maybe you can see it on here, maybe you can't. But there's oil all the way up here, so now we're good. We're full. Got nice, fresh, clean oil on there. The tractor should be happy. All right. I like to label my funnels so that I kind of keep them with compatible materials only. That way, if I'm looking for an engine oil filter, I know, hey, this has only had engine oil in it, and I can reliably use that without, getting any kind of other contamination into my system. All right, let's cap this off. Boy, I'm just having a heck of a time with threads today. All right. Cool. Oil change. Done. And underneath, just give this a quick wipe. Make sure we're clean, not dripping. Oops. Sorry, guys. All right, looks good. We're full of oil. We're all buttoned up. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today and for this video. I think if I try to prolong this and wait for the fuel filter element, this video is just going to get too long and take too long for me to get published. So I'm going to cut this one off here. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying this sort of automotive repair maintenance stuff, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me on the homestead, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.